And we're back.
And we're back.
Hi.
Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
It's not too late, but it's sufficiently late, and
It's ya boy, running on like 6 hours of sleep. Woo.
wait, you said you were awake enough to do the podcast.
Oh, I'm awake.
And as soon as the podcast starts, you're like, "Oh man, I didn't get enough sleep."
So there's a weird sleep cycle that I go through where you have that like period where you get enough sleep, but if you get too much sleep, you're even worse off.
You just go back into not feeling good.
But there's a period where if I don't sleep, I get slowly more and more tired, and then there's the boom, second wind. And just, I'm back wide awake for like another 4 or 5 hours.
Oh god.
And then
So
the crash happens. It's awful.
Are you in the the crash, or are you right before the second wind?
I'm right before the second wind. Let's see.
'Cause if you get the second wind, we can do some other stuff later.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean,
Something like that.
you know.
Alright, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about?
So, I have been neck deep in Dungeons and Dragons prep.
Yes. It's
Cup.
like for everyone else to be about hip deep.
Yeah. Thanks for calling me short. How dare you?
Oh, I called you very short. That's like goblin height.
Horrid. Like 3 foot tall? No, come on.
Yeah, like a goblin. Yeah, exactly.
Grief. So I've got a few people at work that are wanting to try out Dungeons and Dragons for the first time. They've never played the game. They've like heard some about it and like watched a movie, you know, the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Very good film, by the way. I definitely recommend it if you've never seen it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But they've never played it. So
Right.
I am trying to basically dumb the game down for them in a way that makes sense to a first timer. Because obviously you and I have a lot of experience.
Right.
Tons of experience.
Yeah.
And what is there, like 3 core books? You've got the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the Monster Manual, which are like the 3 big books of the game.
They're like the OGs.
They're the OG books.
Yeah.
Trying to condense that.
That is a lot of content. I will say, D&D, at the very least, like, you can do it with the Player's Handbook alone. The DMG and the Monster Manual have a bunch of extra stuff, like extra monsters and tips for how to DM, but...
Yeah, as far as players go, they just need the player handbook. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've played games where, like, we all didn't know what we were doing, and we just had the Player's Handbook, and we had to pass that thing around the table, like, hey, it says here on my character sheet that I have this spell, what does it do? And then they passed me the book, and I turned to page 250, whatever. I don't remember, and I'm like, oh, it does this. What's a D4 again? Like,
yeah,
it was scuffed, but it was fun because we were all learning.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to learn the game and be able to teach it to other people. The thing that I don't want is to give them a giant book and say, here it is, and then the anxiety of overwhelming knowledge, you know?
Yeah.
That
this is the...
Too much information kind of thing, yeah.
Because a lot of that gets into character creation, right? I guess once you're rolling into a game, it's very simple.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you present your players with a challenge. They try to overcome the challenge with whatever skill is applicable. They roll a dice, and then you either scream at the dice or scream at your DM.
Yep, pretty much.
Like, that's how the game plays. But when you're into creating a character, you know, brand new players, they're not going to know which class. I mean, I guess they might if they've played any video games, especially like fantasy RPG video games.
Some of the archetypes will make sense to them.
Yeah, if somebody's played Skyrim, you're like, oh, cool, you already know like half of the crap already because Skyrim is so.
Yeah, I know what spells are. Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to use magic points. Oh, you call them spell slots over here? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I know how stealth archery. I know how to sneak, and I know what a warrior is like.
Yeah.
But if they haven't, right? You're like, what's a barbarian, right?
Right.
That leads me into how are you handling letting the characters pick their class. Or, well, actually, before we even get to that, you're making the characters, right?
Yes, so...
For your players.
Right, and so what I basically did was I gave them sort of categories of characters to pick from. Like, because some of the character archetypes, class archetypes, play very similarly or have similar roles in the game.
Tank, healer, and damage dealer?
Yeah, you've got the tank, damage, and support, basically, of the game. Sure. Your damage dealers are your rogues, your archers, by extension, wizards, sorcerers, things like that.
They can be blaster.
They can be blaster caster, sort of glass cannon-y style characters.
Oh yeah.
But they can also kind of be the healers or the supports a lot of the time, especially wizards.
Wizards have a lot of utility. They don't have a whole lot of healing, if I remember correctly, but they have a lot of utility. Right, which is why I call them a support and not just a healer. A healer would be more like your cleric or a paladin if they spec into that. Especially paladin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got your tank, like your barbarian, your fighter, and things like that. I did not throw in warlock because that just takes way too much game knowledge to know about.
Warlock is pretty... Yeah, I love because Warlock is I think the easiest spellcasting class to learn is Cleric because it's just pretty straightforward. Here's the list of spells that you know, pick some to prepare, and then off you go. Oh, you want to change it? Sure, like you're able to do that.
Yeah.
Wizard is a little bit more complicated, and then Warlock is like, hey, take everything that you know and throw it out the window because here's how this works.
Yeah. You want to play Warlock? Make sure you know what every creature in the book is. Because you can transform into practically any of them, and you need to know their stat block.
I think you're talking about Druid there.
Oh, yeah,
Druids turn into creatures, not Warlocks.
Yeah, I mean, well, they kind of... Warlocks can, like, summon things, though, so, I mean... to an extent.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, more along the lines of, like, polymorph, you can turn into things.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, like, polymorph and things, they can just...
Point being, Warlock is complicated.
Yeah, Warlock is complicated, purely because they work off of a lot of elemental stuff, but yeah. So
you present them with the archetypes, like, hey, here are the kind of roles that you can play, and then you let them pick, or did they pick an archetype, or did they pick a specific class in that archetype?
I let them pick specific classes. I said it's a good idea to have one of each, just that way you have kind of a balanced party. You don't have to, but here's kind of the few archetypes. And then after that, I picked a few of the base races. So along with your class, you can choose to be, a human, an elf, a half-orc, you can be dragonborn, whatever. There's quite a few of them.
A lot of fantasy races.
Yeah, so I picked like 5 or 6 of the base races that complement the classes that I hand-picked out for them.
Right.
So that way they would kind of get a chance to not be a crappy character.
Well, play a character that's like...
somewhat optimal.
I was going to say, I hate using the word optimal when it comes to D&D, but like...
I don't want to throw them in with the wolves and be like, oh, you made a character that was terrible. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so with all that in mind, what is the lineup for your, which... You said you had 3 players, right? So which 3 combinations of races and classes do we have?
Yep, so I've got a half-elf rogue.
Okay, sounds pretty good.
I've got an elf wizard.
Okay, that's a staple if I've ever heard of one.
Yeah. And then we have a half-orc barbarian. Yeah, they're a high elf.
That's also a staple. That's also a staple if I've ever heard
Oh, yeah. Whenever these guys were choosing their party, I was, silently clapping that they already knew the stereotypes, basically.
Yes. Okay.
It was great.
Because all those races will have bonuses... Except for maybe half-elf, but no, half-elf has some great bonuses.
Yeah, they do.
So
they do.
All of them will have excellent bonuses for the class that they're playing. And then all of the finer details, right? So what level are you starting your guys at?
So I started them at 3, because I feel like 1 and 2 is
the tutorial.
More tutorial and less fun, because you're learning very bare-bones mechanics with not a lot to do.
More along the lines of like, because, well, I'm trying to think. I know Wizard gets their subclass at level 2.
Yeah, Wizard is the only one that gets level 2 subclass, which, I mean, they only get one cantrip, which most of the time is a utility cantrip anyways.
They also get some, probably like a spell copy ability. And then they get discounts on spell copy.
Right, yeah, they choose their school, basically, and then they can get half, like, basically a discount on whatever school they chose. And then, like in the case of the Wizard and that we made, they chose the School of Illusion, so they automatically get Minor Illusion as a cantrip.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So.
And then, Minor Illusion's a great cantrip.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And, your Rogue and Barbarian have their subclass declaration at level 3.
Right.
Which means if you didn't start out at level 3, the Wizard would have a subclass if you started out at level 2, or no one would have one if you started out at level 1.
Exactly.
Which I guess, I mean, I don't know.
It's not the worst for learning the game, but it also makes it almost like a railroaded tutorial.
I see. You want to like make sure that they have
some tools. Yeah.
Like, because resource management is a big part of the game, and that leads right into like spell slots or rages, or I guess Rogue doesn't really have a lot of resource management.
They have ammo, and they have the bonus action
economy. Yeah, that is a huge one for them, I guess. So, starting off at level 3 will give them like resources to manage versus like, hey, you have this ability that you can do twice a day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze, and it's gonna be loud. Say something.
Hi, hello. What do you want? What? Are you gonna ruin the audio? How dare you?
Absolutely. Okay.
You know we're professionals, right?
Absolutely. I can feel a sneeze coming on, but it's like waiting for.
I hate those.
Yeah.
I heard a terrible phrase called sneeze edging today, and I did not like it. Oh God.
Actually, whenever I used to do this as my go-to, I'm not sure if I should continue doing this, but whenever my players in 5e roll a critical fumble in combat, I mean, obviously based on the scenario, you can do whatever is funny, but one of my go-tos was I would make their character feel the urge to sneeze but not be able to. Yeah. And they would be stunned for 1 round.
What a good fumble chart.
Just standing there with their mouth open and their eyes slightly squinted, going like, because that's how I feel right now. But I'm holding it back. I'm doing an amazing job at it.
That's good. Yeah, so, yeah, we did get to choose the archetypes. And I built out all the stats for them, because trying to walk someone through of like, this is this bonus, and this gets you this. It gets a lot.
That is the, like, it will take you hours to teach people how to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I was going to say about character creation. These characters that you've come up with are not really pre-gen.
Yeah.
Because the players were like, I want to play this race in this class.
Yeah.
But you chose a subclass for them. And then
they actually chose their own subclass.
Oh, they
did let them do that.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. And then everything else is like you entered for them. So for the Wizard, you were able to pick and prepare their spells.
Yeah.
You gave them certain amounts of equipment, which I guess they could have chosen their own equipment, but
yeah.
And then write down all of your abilities on the character sheets. That way you can point to it while you're playing the game.
Exactly.
Instead of having them write it down and 50 years later, you guys get to play the game.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's a lot to take in. It's easier to explain how a character is created once you've played the game for a little bit. Like, if I go through and say, here's your stats, your strength is this, your intelligence is that, charisma is that, dexterity is this, you're not going to know what those do until you play the game some.
Exactly. Yeah. So if, like, when game day comes and your player tries to make a charisma check, and then they fumble, like, well, you see your charisma stat here, right? You can increase that, right? But like, this is where your penalty or lack of a bonus is coming from.
Yeah.
And it kind of puts like in their mind, oh, if I want to get better at this specific thing, this is the stat that I need to increase. Now let me figure out which class does that better.
Right, exactly. And especially it allows them to take a step back from the numbers side of things and focus on more of the role play, because I mean that's what it's all about in the end, is
it's a role playing game.
Making up a story, you know.
I've always had a bit of animosity towards, or not really animosity, just aversion. Like, I didn't like the idea of having pre-gen characters for new players. When you say, hey, we're going to play D&D, you can play whoever you want, but then also play this character that someone else has made for you.
Right.
Like, it's not the most fun thing in the world.
Right.
Everybody fondly remembers their first D&D character that they made. Right?
Yeah.
But nobody remembers the pre-gen character that they were handed.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I can understand having someone make a character for you, but if you have zero input, you have no attachment to that character whatsoever.
Yes. And so that's why, like, stuff like the character alignment, which you don't have to explain. You really don't have to even know how that works in order to play the game. Honestly, the way that I've seen it done that works the best is the characters start out with no alignment, and then the DM judges them based on how they play and assigns them one, and then the players can kind of work around that.
Yeah.
Which, if they're brand new, and they don't know what this outdated alignment chart crap is, then it might be a better way to do it. But if a player's just like, no, I'm chaotic neutral instead of chaotic evil, I'm like, all right, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Point being, when you tell someone that you're going to play D&D, they get super excited to make a character, and they want to use that character a lot, but it tends to get bogged down with the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, here's all of your stat bonuses and your inventory and your encumbrance total and how far you can long and high jump. Like,
right.
Nobody wants to sit down, after sitting through that for 3 hours, because that's how long character creation takes sometimes.
Pretty much.
The players are they're in one of two camps. They're either super pumped to actually put all of this stuff to use, or they're just exhausted.
Yeah, and they're just overwhelmed with everything that they have no idea what's going on still.
So doing it this way, it gets you right into the game, while also giving the players agency over how their characters are created.
Exactly, yeah. Because they created the character themselves, I just filled in all the math for them, basically.
It's like Fallout.
Yeah.
You give them the special stats, and then the game assigns you hit points and crap like that.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, obviously, I chose the spells for the wizard because I'm not going to give him a giant list of different things and go pick a few.
Wizard is one of my specialty classes. I love playing that class.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to trying to walk him through how to use a spell save DC and a spell bonus and spell slots. That's going to be the toughest one.
Spell slots, yeah. I was going to say spell save DC. So once you get, and this is what I would urge anybody who's teaching anyone how to play D&D to do. It is you have a challenge, and that challenge has some arbitrary number, usually between 10 and 20, and you roll a 20-sided dice, add your bonus or subtract your penalty, and then if you succeed by matching that number or exceeding it, then you succeed, and then if you fail by not reaching that number, you fail, right?
Yep.
Once you get your players to roll the d20 a lot, because you're going to do that a lot. And so any challenge, hey, I want to talk to the barkeep and try and intimidate him to give me some money, or I want to flirt with this, this hot elf that I saw walk into the tavern, or I want to steal from this guy, or I want to punch this guy. Everything has a DC. One of them's armor class, AC, which is trying to hit someone, but everything else in the game has a DC. Yep. And the spell save DC is kind of where the roles are reversed, where the player is the one saying, I'm doing this to you, you roll to resist it.
Exactly.
Once you get, that's the easiest way to explain it, because I love seeing my players like faces light up when they say, "Oh, this is like I got to make the DM roll to not get burned."
Exactly, and it's kind of nice because that way it's in the DM's hands to pass or fail rather than the players. And
are you gonna fudge your rolls?
I might just a
Yes, you're
bit.
gonna fudge your rolls.
I might just a bit because I don't want to make it a bad first experience. I'm gonna be fair. Like, I am going to hit them if I hit them.
Oh.
But I'm not gonna be like, yeah, all of your attacks always miss me.
Can I
because
tell
you're
them
just
about
rolling
the time,
terribly.
Can I tell them about the time that you almost died when you were learning how to play?
Yeah.
This is a story from about a little bit more than a year ago.
I wasn't learning how. Well, I was kind of learning how to play.
Kind of. Okay, you were somewhat new to the
I was
game,
new
but-
to traditional D&D.
Right, you had played Power Rangers D&D.
I had played some weird and wacky homebrew stuff. Yeah.
So, I was walking some people in the Vulpian server through how to play D&D, and we were starting at level 1 because it's tutorial, right? So
We had like
I made
three
them...
people that had never played D&D before.
Oh yeah, and we walked through. I walked through everybody through making a character. So essentially, I didn't take the advice that I just gave. I walked them through making characters, and they were all level 1, so they had very few abilities. But this was solely just to get them used to rolling a d20, and like playing in character.
The minor mechanics of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So we went through this this very small dungeon with very level appropriate enemies.
It's
A
like
handful
what,
of
two skeletons or something like that?
and like a zombie at the end.
Yeah.
Like, it was very chill. And you guys did great, by the way. You guys crushed it. But on the way out, there's this bush, and there's you could hear this snake hissing from inside the bush, right? All the players are like, yeah, don't go near the bush. There's a snake in that bush. And Stick, our sorcerer, our lovely 7 hit points sorcerer, decides, I'm gonna go check out this bush. And I said, are you sure about this? And he's like, yep. Cool. Walks over. I roll to hit. I hit him, and the damage was 1d6 plus 1. I roll it, and I get a 6. And that was about to one-shot our boy on his first session. He was about to instantly, and there's a part of me that wanted to. So I was like, oh, here's how we learn about death saving throws, but I didn't want to do that to him. So fudged that roll just so that he didn't instantly die. Well, I guess instantly go unconscious.
It was one of those things that whenever you said, are you sure, it didn't register in my mind like, oh, that's
This
right.
is a bad idea.
There were snakes in that bush.
I did.
I just did it. I don't know. It was super
really
dumb.
wanted to check. You wanted to see the snake, and
Yeah.
I guess he saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like when you're playing, I mean, especially as a DM, like you're kind of telling a story, and rolls are awesome because they add some elements of uncertainty. But especially in that case where I would have just like, all right, well, I know you just spent 4 hours making this sorcerer, but make a new one. Like
that would suck.
You can, but that wouldn't endear the game very much to Stick here. He would learn, oh wow, sorcerer is a crap class that gets one shot by snakes. I'm never gonna play one again.
No, I loved sorcerer. He was awesome.
Yeah. You liked playing it because you had the wild magic.
The wild magic So I am a big fan of randomness.
Yes.
In D&D. You've got these characters that are...
You would not have fudged that roll. I'm hearing you would have just let me die if the rolls were reversed.
Probably. So
I'm okay with that.
The way I love to play is everything random can be fun. You don't treat it as like a no min-max, nothing like that. Like,
this is the person who hates random crits with a burning passion in Team Fortress 2.
Okay, there's a time and a place for randomness. And when that time and place is a percentile table that turns you blue on multiple occasions, that's when it's fun.
That's true. That is pretty funny. If I had a nickel for every time
it happened twice
that you tried to cast a fire spell, and and ended up turning yourself blue, I would have 2 nickels.
Which is weird that it happened twice.
It's weird that it happened twice.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Sorcerer specifically has a subclass called Wild Magic, where, and I don't know if it's, I'm fairly certain the rules are like made in such a way to make it happen very, very rarely. However, it's also up to the DM's discretion.
Yeah,
and
they can just do it whenever.
Yeah, and my discretion at the time was, whenever it's funny.
Yeah.
So, which was like every other spell, because it's always funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There is one chance if you roll like a 0 or a 1, your character just dies.
I'm gonna look up the table now that you said that.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that like a 0 or a 1 is considered an absolute crit failure, and you just die.
But the first time that he ever had a wild magic surge, he was trying to cast a spell against, like, they were fighting a thief who was using a rapier to stab at them, and he cast a spell. I don't remember what spell it was, and he got the one effect. So I made him do a wild magic surge, and he rolled it, and he got the effect where he becomes vulnerable to piercing damage, which is the only damage type that the thief
they were doing at the time.
Using? Yeah, he had a crossbow and a rapier, which both do piercing damage. So essentially, very first time doing a wild magic surge,
and I was instantly just
you were instantly
horribly underpowered.
Take double damage from.
And again, I had like what, 12 hit points maybe?
Something.
At
Yeah,
that
you were
time?
level 2, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, looking at the wild magic surge table, on a 1 or 2 on the D100, you just re-roll.
That's what it is.
On a level on 99 to 100, you regain all of your sorcery points.
Okay. I could have swore there was one where you just instantly die, or maybe I'm thinking of the deck of many things, which I also really like.
If you roll a 7 or 8, you get a 3rd level fireball cast on yourself. For a sorcerer, that would
usually be an insta death. Yeah,
like that's a lot of damage.
Oh man, yeah,
that's a lot of damage.
As far as first timers in D&D goes, when I try and teach someone new to the game, I try to make it be about the roleplay first, and their character, and all of the math and behind the scenes rules second.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, because I'm probably gonna, like, this is Wolfie about to say something super controversial. Most of the classes in D&D 5th edition are geared towards combat.
Yeah.
And in fact,
because that's like 50% of the game anyways.
I was going to say, aside from maybe the rogue, you'd be hard pressed to find a class that doesn't have a crap ton of combat abilities.
Yep.
And now that's to be expected, right? Because combat is a pretty big part of D&D. But especially when you get a new player, how do I say this? There's not a lot of focus put onto what the character does when they're not beating something up, right?
Yeah.
You can have a fighter and a barbarian and a rogue and a monk and all these different guys, right? And they, outside of combat, they're just buddies. Maybe they all work at the same job. Maybe they all work different jobs. Maybe one of them is the charming guy, one of them is the smarter guy, right? Yeah. All of these different archetypes. But their classes are how they go about beating people up when it's time to throw hands. And, like, again, aside from the rogue, most classes lean really heavily into combat abilities.
Right.
And most characters do not lean heavily into what they do when they're not fighting. So when you spend, an hour and a half writing about how well you can beat people up, new players are like, oh, cool, we're going to be
doing a lot of combat.
The fun part, right? Yeah. That's the fun part of D&D. Which, yes, combat is a lot of fun. I love combat, especially if it's very tactical. But
that's only half the game.
Yeah, the other half of the game is rolling for stuff outside of combat. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're rolling for, you've got this whole skill tree on the side. You also have your alignment and your background, both of which give you extra skills and maybe even a really cool skill. I had one character who was she was a monk, but she was also a fisher. Like, her background was a fisher, and so she could like essentially catch enough fish to feed her entire party and cook them in a way that made taking a short rest something enjoyable, because it's like, oh cool, we're getting some lemon pepper salmon today.
Yeah.
Like, something nice about that, right?
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Oh, and my DM would give me stat buffs like to charisma if I was persuading somebody while I was cooking them a meal, because you're much more inclined to listen to someone if they're making you a meal.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's fair. That's why people gather in the kitchen.
One of my DMs would he would give us charisma like penalties if we didn't bathe, which I think that's simultaneously fair, but also like
a little too in the weeds of role playing.
Oh, a lot of people forget, and so our DM is like, "Hey, you have been wearing that plate armor for 2 weeks now, and you haven't showered. You've been in combat, so you're covered in dried blood, and you've slept in it. You haven't taken it off. You look and smell horrendous. You have a -2 to charisma."
Jeez. Yeah.
Which, again, fair,
penalties are fine, but especially for brand new characters, I try not to do many penalties.
Right.
Because that detracts and is like makes them feel less power. Because you want to go on that power trip. You're supposed to be the hero, you know?
Or the villain.
Or the villain, yeah. You're supposed to be the super powerful character, and if you're just constantly giving them nerfs or, cursed items that cause them to be whatever.
I think I was mostly talking about like a intermediate level party that everybody kind of knows how the game works. But the point that I'm trying to make is the game is more than just a beat up goblins simulator.
Right.
You can play it like that, and it's a lot of fun. But there's a lot of fun to be had. I don't want to talk about Adventures League, man. Oh, those guys.
Oh, boy.
I've never... 2 words that should never be in the same sentence are competitive DnD, which I guess DnD is an acronym.
3 words.
Yeah, but competitive DnD.
DnD is not supposed to be competitive. It's supposed to be a way for people to come together and just chat and have fun.
Yeah. It's a social event.
Yeah.
You're meant to hang out with your friends and have fun. And that's the thing. If you're not having fun, you can always talk to the DM and be like, "Hey, man.
Yep.
This ain't working. What can we do to like?" And that's the other thing that I really like about the DM being the DM. If you judge a class to be under or overpowered, you can make adjustments to it.
Yep.
Now, I hate nerfing stuff, like Stick said, because nerfing makes you feel, like, not great. So it would be more along the lines of take the underpowered characters and buff them up to the same level of everyone else.
Right.
And you can do that through
magic items and such.
You can do that through story events, like, oh, you know, your god blesses you, and now you've got a +1 to this stat or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can just say, fuck it, I'm doing it completely out of game. Like, you're getting this stat.
You're getting a +5 to your strength because you're at a -3. Please.
Deal with it, yeah. Oh, Blonde with her sling.
Oh my god.
Stick has been on. Alright. Blonde. She's been on this channel before, so I can talk about her. And our viewers might know who she is. If you don't know who she is,
she's in our friend group.
Hi, yeah, no, welcome to the channel. You must be new here. So Blonde, she has been playing a character in our year-long campaign thus far. She's a ranger.
She's a hunter ranger.
Yes, she's a hunter ranger
which is arguably one of the worst archetypes for one of the worst classes in the game.
Brutal, but also true. Ranger's pretty C tier when it comes to like raw power. You can do there's a lot of things you can do outside of combat, but
in combat you may as well go up a tree and just try and snipe people.
They're pretty niche when it comes to the abilities you can. Point being, she's been using a sling
from level 1
the entire game. Yeah.
We're what now?
I'm not gonna
9?
say that there are weapons that are useless, but if there was one
It would be the sling.
Like, slings would be, well, I mean, blowguns are pretty well useless too, but...
Well, I mean, yeah.
They do 1 damage, and it's nice because you don't have to roll anything. But
Yeah.
It sucks because
And they can cause status effects if you poison tip them or something like that.
Yeah,
but
I guess if you
there's
don't
a
get
little
it,
bit of use for them.
A sling has the shortest range for anything that can be considered ranged in the game.
Isn't it 20 feet?
I think it is 20 feet normally and 60 feet with disadvantage, which...
Well, that's a normal
rock,
thrown
throwing a
improvised
rock
weapon.
is about... Throwing a rock would be about the same thing. Throwing a javelin, you can throw it further.
Throwing a dwarf.
Shooting any bow is longer range, right? And again, medieval fantasy, so everybody uses
because bows are 60, 320, I think, right?
80, 320.
80, 320. Yeah.
The shortest range bow is 80 feet. So, but she's been using the sling, and I get it. She's become attached to the sling.
She loves that thing. Oh my god.
Yeah. And from level 1 all the way up until about level 8, she used a regular sling. And I believe Stick was trying to wean her off the sling because he's like, dear God, just pick up a longbow. Like,
there's so many longbows and like other ranged weapons that have dropped from fallen enemies. Come on.
The way that, and it's funny because I didn't even. She's still using a sling, but I gave her a magic sling because, if she's gonna be that adamant that she's going to use a sling, it may as well be magical.
May as well buff the sling, yeah.
So I gave her a two-bird sling, which is a sling that allows you to ricochet projectiles off of enemies that are standing next to each other. And it also has like a +1/2 damage and
some other things. So yeah,
it's still very short range. It just blows my mind because I've never had a character use a sling before, not even once. Like I've never seen.
Well, she's already playing a pretty unconventional character, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And she's a party leader.
And she is party. We made her party leader to have her be more than. We
didn't make her party leader. She made herself party.
That is true. That is true.
We just kind of everyone followed her.
Just went along with it. But
she's a business owner. She owns Vermin Eradicators Unlimited, which is her monster hunting / rat
extermination
business. And because it started out as, hey, you got a rat infestation, and right now it's like, hey, you got a dragon infestation. Like
it's just progressively
inclined. She goes around hiring employees to, I'm gonna hire you. We're gonna go slay this dragon, and you're gonna get a crap ton of gold from me.
Yeah.
So it's been like that archetype. Even though it's not like a conventional ranger, air quote, it's still working because she's put in the work to make her character integral to the party. Literally, the party would not exist without her.
Exactly. So while she's not good in combat, out of combat, she is the most charismatic, I talk to everyone character.
Yeah, she talks to people, she's dexterous, and she's observant.
Yes.
She's so observant even that in combat, one of her best abilities is to be able to sense the stats of enemy creatures.
Was it Hunter Sense or whatever it's called?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it does verbatim. I'm fairly certain we've homebrew buffed it to where she can get armor class hit points and damage resistances / vulnerabilities. Just glean that at a glance from a creature if she spends a turn observing it, which is super useful because then you can shout out to everybody, hey, this thing is immune to poison damage, which everything in the game.
No.
Oh my lord.
We gave her poisons session 2 or 3.
No. Session 1.
Oh yeah, you just gave them to her at the beginning.
She started with some serpent venom. And I was like, awesome, you've got 3 vials of serpent venom. You can dip your... she didn't have a bow, but you can dip your sling projectile in it, and then it'll do a little bit of extra damage.
Yep.
Right? Because she's playing a hunter ranger. She's going to need all the damage she can get.
Yeah.
She didn't use it. She didn't use it at all, because she was like, I'm going to save it for some... Even when she's bleeding out in the streets because she's been stabbed by a halberdier, she's like, I'm not going to use it because I'm saving it for a really big enemy. I'm like, what enemy? You are dying!
Yeah, so for a little bit of context, whenever we first started, so Wolfie did up until level 3, and then I took over. Was it level 4?
Yeah.
Okay, well anyways, so from level 4 on, I was in charge of DM. So what ended up happening is that my story that I started to tell revolved around a lot of like demon creatures and things.
Yes.
Which a lot of demons are immune to poison.
Just a lot of creatures.
Just a lot of creatures in general, yeah. Because poison is actually a very powerful thing that just makes you have disadvantage on like all
if
stat
you get
rolls.
Poison, there's poison damage, then there's a poison condition.
Yeah.
And depending on how you inflict it, like you can either give an enemy disadvantage, or you can like essentially have them take extra damage.
Yeah. I would do the condition thing if it were me.
Like, so a lot of enemies are immune to poison, and so she was hanging on to this poison for the longest time, and then just the one time that she tried to use it against, like, I think it was a chain devil, and it was immune. She's like, "Oh, come on!" I'm like, "You."
Yep. I think I made one enemy that was not immune to poison, and she went to throw the poison vial and missed.
Woof. That's just sad. That's just bad luck.
Yeah. It was unfortunate.
A little bit.
But you know, it's supposed to be fun. So
you know what we should do for our next podcast is bring on some of our D&D players and just talk about crap that's happened in the campaign.
We could, yeah. We may have to refer to all of Blonde's notes. There's parts that I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Blonde has been doing such a good job of taking notes. She writes several paragraphs for every session.
Yep.
And they're all horribly misspelled. Yes, I'm calling Blonde out on her horrible spelling.
Her spelling needs work.
Because,
oh boy.
But she's also the only one taking notes, so kudos to you there.
Yeah. I have like very rudimentary notes. That's one of the things as a DM that I don't prepare good notes. Like I have little stat blocks, and I have like, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, but I don't know what's happening from A to B. I just know what's happening at C, and that's it.
Yeah, keyframes. Keyframe your session.
Yes.
You have 3 major events in the session, and then just automatically fill in whatever the heck happens between those events.
I think that's one of the best ways to do it. If you have like major plot points that you want to do, by all means write a little bit more. But if it's like, I just want them to have a fight with this, or I want them to meet this character.
Yeah.
Just, you don't have to write anything, because it's going to be all based on the characters of what they're going to do.
Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Alternatively, they like get up and go to a different town, and then you got to move everyone over there.
Yeah. All right, everybody on the wagon.
I'm like, all right, crap.
But yeah, it's a fun time. D&D's great. Maybe we'll go.
I hope that your D&D session with your 3 brand new players goes well.
I really hope so. I plan on doing it next Wednesday, so who knows? You might hear about it next week.
Awesome. Next podcast, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't want the podcast to be just 100% D&D, because I feel like that would get stale.
It would. Although I do like the idea of us doing like a beginner's guide to D&D at some point.
Oh God, there's so many beginner's guides to D&D.
There are, but they're not us.
That's true.
I drive a hard point. I feel like we could be more of the like bare bones sort of approach to it.
We can do the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Bare minimum for no output.
Just like everything else on this channel.
Pure scuff. Pure scuff.
Go watch our Amanda the Adventure
God.
videos.
that is pure scuff. But yeah.
I think that's what we're gonna call it, right?
Yeah. And thank you for the 20 subscriber milestone.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
we've done it.
20.
You know we've been doing this for 1 month?
Yes, it's simultaneously a little bit surreal, and also not, because I've been here every step of the way.
It's one of those things that's like, wow, we've done all this in a month.
Yeah, we got 20 subscribers in a single month.
Yeah.
And our latest short, I can brag about this because I made it. Our latest short, the Portal short, where I learned how to use keyframes and where I learned how to use screen shake, and I just over edited.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's doing the numbers
Exceptionally well
right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get more content like that.
We started this entire channel with saying we were going to do the most bare minimum, like, no editing practically, and now here we are.
And here we are editing stuff. It's fun though. It's fun to get better at DaVinci Resolve.
It's fun because it's applicable.
Yeah.
Like we're using it actively rather than just being like taking a class and like, here's how you do this, and then you never use it.
Yeah. That's one of the main things. Oh man, I'm gonna get into a different topic. You better stop me before I go. One of the main things that I like to do is make memes, just because memes are funny, right?
Yeah.
But like, oh man, I don't know how to do this or that. Oh, I have a Helldivers 2 meme that I'm gonna make, and it's gonna be so good. And I want to like, but I didn't know how to use keyframes, but now I do. So I'm gonna be able to make that meme, and maybe I'll post it on this channel.
Absolutely. I think Wolfie's gonna do primarily all the shorts because I don't have good enough of Zoomer brain for that kind of editing style.
How much older are you than me? It's not that much.
It's not that much.
It's like
not that
2
much.
years. You're not that old.
but at the same time, I can't do that editing style. I can't do the quick, like, little snappy, 2-second attention span style.
You totally could. I could absolutely show you how.
Oh, jeez. But anyways, let's not burn the midnight oil too much longer.
Okay, fair enough.
So, I think we're going to take a break.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, look forward to our next video tomorrow. It's going to be a doozy. We got a new game, and it's going to be amazing. So look forward to that.
I am shocked because we've probably talked about this, and I probably just wasn't paying attention. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. It'll be Monday, so it's going to be a fantastic game.
Yep. Look forward to it.
Look forward to it.
Blow your socks off.
Yep. All right.
We're actually taking a break.
We're taking a break.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.